Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
Yeah.
This is not the sideshow.
Yeah.
This is not the undercard.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the main event.
Yeah.
Ryan Baldwin here, and joining me today, sitting on my left-hand side, not my right-hand man, though. It's not Mason Shepherd, not the Teflon Talker, not the Colossus of Charisma. Instead, today we have Nightwing.
How y'all doing, y'all? Everybody good?
Man, that's not in character for Nightwing.
That is in character.
There's no way.
That is in
No,
character.
show me one character panel where Nightwing says y'all.
Y'all, dude, really? That's what you're gonna hold me to?
Exactly.
Is the y'all?
But
Are you joking?
you said you're going to do it in character,
I
holding
am
your tonfas.
in character. Are you kidding me? I will not get upset because I know how to balance my emotions.
Uh-huh.
How are you doing, Ryan?
Nightwing doesn't know how to balance his emotions.
Actually, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does. He's the light while Bruce is dark. Don't question me on this, Ryan.
He's got the biggest daddy issues of all.
And that's still technically Bruce. Father died, and he hadn't gotten over it. He's obsessed, so.
Actually, Red Hood probably has the bigger daddy issues, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is a sports podcast, so let's get with
This is sports.
We'll have a separate podcast debating the biggest daddy issues in the DC universe.
Yes.
Shortly followed by the biggest mommy issues in the Marvel universe after that.
Of course.
At a later date. All right. College football started off. First things first. Michigan and Michigan State.
I watched that game.
Did you see the brawl that happened afterwards in the tunnel?
Yes, I did. And I was like, I don't really agree with Coach Harbaugh on a lot. I agreed with him that was assault.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wait a minute. Because when I heard about the brawl before I saw it, I was like, okay, this is like
shoving back and
shoving.
forth.
This is a team brawl. It was on the field. I didn't know that they were piecing people up in the tunnel. And it was literally two Wolverines. I felt bad for the one in the video because he looked like he got crossed up pretty bad.
So Michigan State has suspended 4 players.
As they should.
Effective immediately, and they will remain suspended until all investigations are completed. So however long that is. But yeah, and there was a team that mentioned that was bad going into the tunnel back and forth before that, right? It was somebody else, I think. And like just last week, someone, it was a coach. I think it was one of the NCAA coaches was like, yeah, I think them going in together or into the same tunnel is bad. Or maybe it's like, I've seen relatively recently within the past week besides this incident. And now I'm like, okay, yeah, you gotta have some kind of delay, let people get into to the tunnels and get in and out.
I agree with that. That was the wrong game for that to happen. But I mean,
Michigan State's season is done.
No,
so.
yeah, but like we talked about, we knew that Michigan was going to beat them, but it's that rivalry that's not going to change no matter whose record is what. So, yeah, I think for me, when I saw the footage, and I was like, that's the first question I had. I was like, why are they going through the same tunnel?
Because a lot of these places only have the one.
No, it's like you ask yourself that. It's not like NFL, so it's not like where do they have like one tunnel. But like I get that, but at the same time, like that's what I'm saying. Like if you have one tunnel, don't send them in at the same time.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, it was a soccer match because like a lot of soccer stadiums, both locker rooms, they come down and sometimes before the match they'll stand next to each other and they both have to go like the teams like both go off and like mingle, like sometimes it's but like during rough games I'm like I can't believe somebody doesn't like throw a haymaker while they're walking off.
Yep.
So yeah, Michigan ended up winning that one 29-7. Kentucky lost to Tennessee pretty heftily. Ohio State over Penn State, not surprised. Georgia over Florida, also not surprised. Maybe the biggest surprise of the week was Oklahoma State.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you about Kansas State?
Egg. You did say Kansas State is dangerous, especially going in and visiting Kansas State.
Which guess who has to do that next?
Longhorns?
Yep.
Y'all decided you wanted to keep playing the season?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
We have to go to Manhattan. And I'm not looking forward to that.
That'll be.
They're a dangerous team, man. I'm telling you. The Purple Wizard may still not be there, but they've got the Purple Warlock now. So
Louisville beat the crap out of Wake Forest, which number 10 Wake Forest is that again. That's one of those teams where I talked about it like the start of the year. I'm like, really, Wake Forest number 10.
we both agreed. This
Really?
time around, we both agreed that Wake Forest wasn't legit.
Really? USC over Arizona, no surprise. UCLA
No.
over Stanford, no surprise. Ole Miss whipping A&M, dude. A&M.
Yes.
I my parents and brothers are both Aggie fans, and I keep like every Saturday. It's just in the group chat of fire Jimbo. This team sucks. This is the best we could do. I'm like, you know what? I'm glad I'm not invested in a college sports team. I get enough of a headache from my professional sports teams.
Yeah. Being a part of a college sports team, you'd be involved in some of those tunnel brawls.
Notre Dame over Syracuse. Syracuse is in that Wake Forest category where I'm like, aren't they that good? I don't know about that. Illinois over Nebraska. UCF beats Cincinnati. Upset them. North Carolina over Pittsburgh. And Missouri over South Carolina. So, I mean, we're seeing the upsets. I mean, I call them upsets, but it's like Cincinnati lost their rank 20. So that's that nebulous shuffling where you're going to get a new team in the top 25 every week because people are losing in and out and not very as good as the top teams. But the top teams have not changed, except number 2 Tennessee jumped Ohio State. Technically, they're tied at second with the same number of points, but Tennessee is listed above Ohio State because they got more first place votes. How do you feel about that? Because I still don't think that Tennessee has really proven that they're up there.
Are you kidding me? They beat Bama. You know, they beat Bama.
More so than Ohio State?
No, I'm still agreeing with you, but that sentence of I don't know if they beat Bama.
Yeah, I know they beat Bama. I'm just like the fact that they're up there over Ohio State. That's the one that like I have no problem with them being 3, but number 2.
Well, I think the thing about it goes is I can understand feeling like they have more to prove besides because who else does Tennessee still have on their schedule? Don't they? Wait a minute, aren't they playing Georgia next week? I mean, well, it's technically this week. Yeah.
So this will be one of these teams will drop down to I think 4 because I think they'll drop it down to 4.
Yeah.
I don't think Clemson will jump them.
No.
At 5. But yeah, the loser of this will probably drop down to 4. Georgia versus Tennessee, and that is in. Is it in Knoxville? I just had it up. Oh no, hold on. Final answer. What is Athens, Georgia?
Oh boy.
Yeah, it'd be a tough one for Tennessee. But hey, you know, I will say this: if they win, I will fully buy into the Tennessee hype train.
I don't think you could not at that point. If you were still like, nah, I don't think
they looked out.
They don't look good. It's like they beat Bama and Georgia. But no, I think okay, we'll learn if Tennessee is worthy of the number 2 spot if they overcome Georgia.
I mean, even if they keep it close, I'll give them number 2.
Yeah, no,
right?
100%.
If they go into Georgia and get blown out,
yeah.
But if they keep it close, even if they lose, I'd be.
But
like,
you know, when they watching them play Kentucky, who's another Wake Forest, Kentucky, Syracuse were all the teams you were just like, really. But if they, you know, the game they played against Kentucky, I finally got a chance because I don't, you know, have the ability to watch a lot of Tennessee games, but like I saw that offense, man. That offense is crazy fast. And like not just fast like speed, but like with the way they go about things. Like it's like the receiver knows where they're going to be and where the ball's going to end up before the quarterback does. It's scary. Hooker, it's Hendon Hooker, right? Their quarterback.
Is it Hendon? It's Hendon.
Hendon Hooker. I see why people have been talking about him in the Heisman conversation. That kid is good.
He'll be a first round. Somebody's going to take a chance on him in the first round because he's a senior as well.
Yeah,
so.
That kid is crazy good. And the receiver, is it Jalen Hyatt? I know the last name is Hyatt.
Man, I just left the roster. You're going to go and make me take a look at them.
Do your job, bro.
I can't click fast enough. Jay Hyatt. Jalen.
Okay, good. Yeah, so, remember, perfect. So, yeah, Jalen Hyatt. He's insane. So, and their running game is Tennessee's offense is just incredible. Like they destroyed Kentucky in the sense of like that defense just wasn't prepared. So I don't know, man. Georgia struggled in a few games, so I don't know. I'm excited to see where this goes
I think Tennessee is going to go down there and give them all they can handle, whether they win.
or lose.
Yeah, I'm not ready to pull the trigger on they're going to go in there and upset, but they've probably got the best chance of any team this year.
I think 100%. And then after that, my measuring stick for Tennessee will be, can they beat? Because it's going to either be Georgia or Bama again. Can they beat them again? Well, it won't be Georgia.
It'd be Bama.
It'd be
because
Bama.
they
Yeah,
would,
because
Bama
Georgia
would
and
win
Tennessee's in the same division. But like, if it was that would be my second test for them.
Well,
if they could beat Bama again,
we say
when
it
it
would
matters.
be Bama, but part of what's going to factor into that is the fact that LSU beat Ole Miss.
LSU again. I'm so glad I'm being proven right. LSU, you can never count them out, even if you want to.
LSU beat Ole Miss, and they will have Alabama on Saturday. This upcoming what's the 5th? The 5th is
this upcoming Saturday.
Is it this Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. So they'll have Bama this Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
You know who has Bama the following Saturday?
Who?
Ole Miss.
Oh.
So all 3, 4, and 1. Basically, the west side of the SEC gets figured out in the next couple of weeks.
West Side.
So because LSU beat Ole Miss, so if they both beat Bama, then LSU would have that on tiebreaker, assuming they win out.
Yeah.
So then it'd actually be Tennessee versus LSU in a conference championship game, which we haven't seen in ever that I can remember.
No. And here's the thing. I think LSU, they came on a little relatively like later on in the season. Because they weren't ranked when we started, and then they got beat a few times, and then now they're on the way. I'm just saying, we thought Bama was gonna have to contend with like an unranked LSU, and we were like, yeah, they'll win, but it'll be hard.
Now it's
in
a
Death
15
Valley
LSU.
with a ranked LSU. That game is going to be insane. Because you know what? I'm predicting, score 13-10. I don't know which way the 13-10 is going to land, but 13-10. That is going to be a defensive shutout.
Yeah, and that is the 6 p.m. game. So in the morning, you'll have Tennessee at Georgia.
Oh, that's going to be great.
Tech at LSU, or at TCU. Excuse me.
Oh, they're going to get blasted.
You think so?
Yes. TCU's crazy.
I keep waiting for they are, but I keep waiting for them to
fail out.
But maybe that's just. I mean, they have Sonny Dykes in, and he's been doing well. So maybe this isn't the year that they. This is
have
the year
faith, Ryan.
Yeah. They're still in 7th. They did not jump Bama.
I can understand that.
But I would argue the way they're playing. This is one of those teams that makes me think that they should expand.
Yes.
Because this is one of those teams where I'm like, okay, they could probably give a Michigan a run for their money. Maybe not a Georgia or Tennessee, but
I think with
they would definitely give Clemson a run for their money.
Yeah, I think with TCU, I think what's going to happen is that we will see them playing in the Rose Bowl, or what's the other big one besides that? Sugar Bowl. No, that's one of the playoff games.
Is the Orange Bowl one of the playoff games too?
I think so. Yeah, it's the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl.
They'll get some bowl game.
They will be in the Rose Bowl.
Here's the deal: they're going to win out and be ranked 5th.
Yes,
and they're going to be just outside, and it's going to be another one of those like, oh well, they should have made it, but yeah.
But I mean, hey, at least Bama won't be in there. So
true. Assuming what if everybody else loses a game and they somehow sneak in?
You know what? At that point, I'd throw my hand.
Because here's the deal. I could even see Bama, because Bama will have to beat LSU and Ole Miss, who are ranked 11 and 15. I could see them, like if Michigan loses to Ohio State,
which they will,
I could see Bama jumping Clemson into that 4th spot.
Very much so. They're going to put Bama in there some
LSU
way.
And Ole Miss, I could totally see Clemson getting snubbed, going undefeated, but still not getting in because Bama beat LSU and Ole Miss, and they jump Michigan, who loses to Ohio State. Calling it now. That's the game plan. And Tennessee will be like number 3.
So even if Tennessee beats them in the SEC Conference Championship, they'll be in. Because aren't the conference...
I guess that would be their second.
That's what I'm saying, because the conference championship decides who represents in the playoffs. even though not every conference champion, ends up there.
It depends on how it plays out, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Tennessee beats Georgia, Georgia doesn't drop out of the top 4.
No.
Tennessee move up to 1. And let's say Ohio State beats Michigan. So that means you're looking at Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio State. The question is, would Bama jump Clemson into number 4 beforehand, which I think they will, like right into conference
Didn't this
championship
happen
week.
last year? Wait a minute, time out. We're talking about something that's already happened in the sense of like Bama, Georgia last year. Because isn't that basically what this might be?
But they were both undefeated, I
No,
think.
that's what I'm saying is 2 SEC teams like basically being in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
This happened.
Yeah, this has already happened like several times.
But but this is interesting because there's a third SEC team in there.
Yeah.
Now. So like like I said, what if Tennessee beats Georgia?
Okay.
They finish out undefeated. Georgia finishes with 1 win.
I think even
and
if
Ohio
they
State's
didn't
undefeated.
finish out undefeated, because I won't say Tennessee's that good. They might, but I don't see that. But if they beat Georgia, I still think that
right.
Because I don't think Bama. Well, Bama's obviously not undefeated, but I don't think Bama. I think Bama will drop one of those 2 games. Either to be LSU or it's going to be Ole Miss, which I put money on LSU.
But what if they win? Because this makes things spicy towards the end of the year. If they win, I think they go into 4th over Clemson and the loser of Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah,
because they will have beat LSU and Ole Miss, and then that brings the question of. That's your 1, 2, 3, 4. And if they lose to, in this scenario, it'd be Tennessee. If they lose to Tennessee, does that drop them out of 4th? If they lose to them twice?
It does in my book. It should. Tennessee's proven. If Tennessee can beat Georgia and beats Bama twice, Tennessee was the best team in the SEC. That's not a question.
Right, but does that drop Bama out that they've lost
no, that's
to the
what
best
I'm saying.
team in the country
Yes,
twice?
it does. Because you have failed to prove that you can beat these. Technically, if they beat Georgia, second best team in the SEC again.
All right.
So it should, but look, I agree with you. It won't. Bama gives them ratings because they want to see if a team can beat them. They're going to find some way to get in. They don't deserve to be there if they lose, but we'll see what happens.
Well, that'll make things spicy towards the end of the season for sure. Again,
like a 2 in a row.
My obviously the game to watch is Tennessee, Georgia, and then the second one is going to be Bama, LSU. Trying to think if there's anything. Notre Dame has been playing really good, and Clemson has to go visit Notre Dame in South Bend.
That game is not going to be as good as advertised.
I don't know.
Nah.
If I'm going to put a game to watch on Upset Alert, I'm saying Clemson and Notre Dame.
Boo. No. Both of those teams haven't proven themselves to me.
Okay.
No, they haven't.
Well, that's NCAA football. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back for some NFL action. Stop snickering over there. Welcome back to the main event. Ryan Baldwin here, Mason Shepherd, a.k.a. Nightwing over yonder.
Just go.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for you to say something in character like, I can control my emotions.
Shut up.
I definitely don't have daddy issues.
Don't hate.
I don't hate Nightwing. He is the least...
I've been getting hated on all day.
I didn't say I don't hate
why
you.
and from where.
I just said I don't hate Nightwing. I didn't say anything about you.
Just roll with the topic, right?
Okay, NFL football to football. You think Nightwing would have been a good NFL football player?
100%.
Do you think he would have been able to control himself enough to keep him from like judo flipping people? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he's not Jason Todd, so yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Started off in London early with the Broncos over the Yags. Russell Wilson actually played like Russell Wilson, so that was
I know, right? It was surprising.
That was a nice. I still want to go. So they played this one. I think it was at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium again, which Tottenham is my Premier League team, and I really want to go see a game over there. No, that was at Wembley. The other two were at Tottenham, but I still want to go see a game over at Tottenham because it's a cool stadium. It's packed, and they recently just built that one. Anyway,
you think you'd fit in England, Ryan?
No, I'd stick out like a sore thumb. So I would. Here's what I would do. First thing, like walking to the stadium, I wouldn't say a word, right? And the first thing when I get around the fellow fans, would be to go into like a full on. Well, howdy, Londoners. How y'all doing today? I just flew in from Texas. Y'all know where that is?
From Tejas.
From Tejas. And just watch the looks go like, oh, this yank. And then I'd buy everybody a round of beers, and that'd make it okay, right?
Right. Yeah. Speaking of okay, there's some teams who played less than okay, and some teams who played better than okay. Dallas was one of them this week.
Are we skipping all the other teams?
No, I just needed a segue for that.
Okay, fine. I'll run through the rest of them really quick. Falcons beat the Panthers. Not a surprise there. PJ Walker is aggressively average.
Wait a minute. Aggressively average?
Yeah.
So not moderately mediocre.
No.
Aggressively average.
Yeah, exceedingly adequate.
He's killing me.
Dolphins beat the Lions. Tua is alive still, which is I'm counting as a win every week that he doesn't collapse on the field.
Yeah.
Vikings over the Cardinals. The Cardinals are completely done. Kyler Murray actually gave me some fantasy points by putting up 3 touchdowns finally, but they still lost. And, I haven't asked you this, though. What do you think about the Vikings? Because they're 6-1.
I think Minnesota, it honestly is one of those teams where it's like when the main leader of your division goes down, Green Bay, that you have a chance to step up. And I think that Minnesota for years, Minnesota to me has been one of those teams in those gray areas. Because can you remember a time when Minnesota's actually just been like bad? And bad in the sense of like Lions bad. I'm not talking like mediocre.
No, they've always been second fiddle to the Packers.
Exactly. So that's my point.
Maybe the Bears were pretty good for a couple years and they dropped down to third, but they were never like awful. I don't think.
Exactly. That's my point. So with Green Bay out of the way, I mean, do I think they're legit? We'll see. I think they're legit enough that it scares me that Dallas has to play them in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, the Vikings, I'm keeping an eye out, but I for right now, I'm taking them seriously.
All right. Saints blow out the Raiders. Raiders score 0. Glad they spent all that money on Derek Carr and
This is a perfect decision.
Devontae Adams. They are sitting at 2-5. Just goes to show you that Devontae's going like, man, I could have gone back to the Super Bowl if I'd stayed with the Packers instead.
Right.
Here. Although maybe he's looking at Aaron Rodgers and how he's been treating his receiving core and saying, you know what, maybe not a bad idea.
Right.
Patriots scrounge a win over the Jets, 22-17. Eagles stay undefeated, the last undefeated team in the NFL.
Look, man, that team
they're the real deal.
Is so legit. It's scary.
It pains me to say it as a
Cowboys
fan.
Same here, yeah.
Titans squeak out a win over the Texans. Commanders beat the Colts. I saw a meme where it was somebody, the clip where I think it's like a music video and the guy's down and they like do like a couple chest compressions and he like springs to life and they help him up. That was the Commanders logo on that guy, on the guy that springs up, and they have the other NFC East teams around. I'm like, okay, the Commanders are 4-4. This is not a revival of the NFC East. Everybody calm down. The Eagles.
We are still the best division in the NFL right now.
Yeah, probably, I guess.
The only other division that is comparatively as good as us is
although the Giants did lose to the Seahawks.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, they're still second, and the Giants have been on a roll before that, so.
Okay. Just saying, the best timeline is if Geno Smith takes the Seahawks to a Super Bowl and wins one.
I'd be happy for Geno.
I would be happy too, and just to like see the Seahawks go and Russell Wilson's collapse in Denver, and to see Geno take the Seahawks to a Super Bowl would make my day.
What you got against Russ?
I don't have anything against him personally. It's just, and he's not a bad dude.
No.
It's just one of those ones where, like, I listen to him talk, and I'm like, okay, you're not a bad dude, but I can tell that you're like, did you hear the story or the interview he was about when he was they were going on the plane over to London, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking about how people were trying to sleep, and he's like, oh man, people are sleeping. I'm getting ready to go. I watched film. I got 2 hours of sleep, and I watched some more film. I was doing high knees down the aisle. I'm like, man, if I am your teammate trying to sleep because we're going to London on an overnight, and you're doing high knees, I may throw hands. Like, come on, man.
I think Russ.
He seems like a guy who's trying way too hard.
Yeah, he is. But I mean, that's his personality.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, he's better than Aaron Rodgers, who are like, you guys suck. So
agreed. I'm just saying he's one of those guys where I'm like, I know that there's nothing wrong with him personally.
Yeah.
It's just something about him rubs me the wrong way. Just one of those guys.
That's fair.
49ers over the Rams. Rams can't figure it out, and Christian McCaffrey is now.
Oh, the 49ers are scaring me right now.
Yeah, they're
that was the other division, the NFC
West. Yep, that's Cardinals, Rams, 49ers, and Seahawks.
Yep.
And then Bills beat the Packers, and that one wasn't really close. We hate it when the Packers win, so go Bills.
Exactly.
So where does that leave us in the? Let's do standings, and then we'll go to the boys.
Okay.
Bills 6-1, leading the AFC East. The Dolphins and the Jets tied at 5-3, though, and the Patriots are 4-4. So there's a battle
AFC
to be.
East is, I'm enjoying it without the Patriots being on top.
Then they're not out of it. So there's going to be a battle for that wild card spot for sure.
Yeah.
The AFC North, Ravens at 5-3. Bengals have a chance to tie it up tonight as they play the Browns 2-5, and the Steelers at 2-6. The AFC South has now returned a little bit to normal with the Titans out in front. The Colts are 3-4 though, and they can't. I mean, obviously, I could have told them before the season started that Matt Ryan was not the solution.
No, not the solution to their problem.
But they found it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then the AFC West is another one, and that's one of those other dangerous ones with the Chiefs, the Chargers at 5-2 and 4-3.
Yes, very much
the
so.
The Broncos at 3-5. With if Russell Wilson can turn it around, they're a scary team.
Yeah.
And then the Raiders are the Raiders.
Wah.
The NFC North, the Vikes are 6-1, as we discussed. Everybody else is fall behind.
Yep.
The NFC South is wacky because the Falcons are leading at 4-4.
The worst. That is the worst division, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the Bucks look bad. Brady got divorced to go 3-5 in the division. New Orleans Saints are 3-5, and the Panthers are 2-6. And then the NFC West, Seahawks up top 5-3, and yada yada yada. Okay, that leaves the NFC East and our boys.
Okay, let me let you just be like, this proves nothing.
It doesn't.
I know. I mean, I'm agreeing with
you.
It
doesn't prove it.
But I'm waiting for you to say that every week.
Every week on Twitter, right? I'd put out a picture of a book by one of my ticket leaders that says Craig Miller's Guide to Never Buying into the Cowboys Ever Again. And I do a chapter each week. This week was, you know what happened last year on week 8? We beat the Vikings with Cooper Rush. And we were 6-1 because we had a bye week. Do you know what happened the following game?
We got blown up by the Broncos.
We laid the biggest turd that I've ever had the misfortune to watch by getting absolutely destroyed by the Broncos, and it was not pretty. So, to that I say, this was an excellent win. Loved the win. The offense looked great. I like the fact that Kellen Moore stuck with the game plan that they were using with Cooper Rush, which was run the ball. And by the way, Zeke is the most overpaid pass blocker in the NFL because, let's be real, Tony Pollard can do the things that Zeke could do in his first year, but has since lost a step to do.
Yeah.
The only place where Zeke is better is pass blocking. Pollard is more explosive. I think he's quicker.
He is.
And he's got a better move on him. The only place, and he's a better pass catcher.
Yes.
I will say I think Zeke is better. Like, if I want a yard.
In between the tackles,
if I want a yard to
Zeke
get
is
into
better.
the end zone, I want Zeke in there.
But the thing I like with Pollard is, like, he showed that he can get down in there too.
Yeah.
But he's not the guy that's going to get you. Well, actually, no, he is. Because to me, his running style to me is like Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
He is so slippery. Like, people bounce off of him.
Right. But if I'm saying, okay, it's 4th and a half
yeah,
inch,
then you're going with Zeke.
and I want somebody that I know is going to put their head down and run through a guy to get half an inch, it's probably going to be Zeke. That being said, that is not worth $40 million a year.
No.
Right? It's not 40. It's like it's a lot of money.
Let's just put it like that.
It is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
That. So I think there will be some issues to figure out once the season is over, because he signed a 6-year, $90 million contract, and this upcoming season after the end of this year, the Cowboys have the option to buy out.
Yep.
Now, I will say that I don't think they will buy him out, because that would be like Jerry Jones admitting he was wrong, and we all know how Jerry Jones is with his ego admitting he was wrong. He's
of course
not going to. What that would mean is that would leave a Zeke Elliott deal on the table until 2026.
Oh, Lord.
Or through 2026. So in 2027, he would be an unrestricted free agent. So, decision time for the Cowboys. My guess is they're going to keep him on. But I think that is going to be for the money that you have or that you are paying Zeke right now, you could go spend that on a big time receiver.
Of course.
Like imagine if we had been able to go for Devontae Adams in a serious manner because we didn't have Zeke, and imagine a receiving core with Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup. That is like top 3 in the NFL, maybe the best in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Because basically it's the same one that we were arguing last year was one of the best, but instead of Amari Cooper, you have Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
So I think it's a horrible, horrible mistake for them to not buy out Zeke, but I don't think they're going to. But yeah, so at the end of the day, I think it's a great offensive in the defense. Gave up a few more points, but Micah Parsons just keeps making it making a strong case for Defensive Player of the Year.
Micah the Terminator Parsons.
And my concern is, okay, this was great for a game.
Yep.
Let's see you do it in Green Bay in 2 weeks. You get a bye week to get healthy, get people back. I want to see the same thing in 2 weeks, and then I want to see the same thing in 3 weeks. I don't want a thing like it was last year where we play really well against play really badly against the Broncos. We're up for the Eagles and kick the Eagles' butts, and then we play like garbage at the Chiefs, and it's up and down.
Yeah.
Good teams will be consistent throughout.
Very true.
And if we start playing consistently, I still won't buy in.
Of course, until
we make a NFC Championship game, and then I'm like, okay, you know what? We've made it this far. Maybe this is actually a good team. And then, of course, that's when
then you'll be disappointed.
When I've left myself vulnerable is when the Cowboys will strike, because that's how they are.
And then the next year, it'll be like until we go to Super Bowl.
Pretty much. But so like I'm not going to take anything away from the win because it was a good win. The offense came to play. The defense has been carrying the offense for a long time, and it was refreshing to see it back the other way. And it was against the Bears team. That's a good defense.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like the Bears are not, they're not losers per se.
No.
They're average. They're okay. The defense is strong. They just lost Roquan Smith a few minutes ago, but to the Ravens no less. So, but no, like watching that game, Dak was comfortable. Some of his decision making still bothers me, but he was comfortable. The receivers were making, believe it or not, Ryan, in coverage, like it's part of their job description. We're catching the ball and holding on to it. I didn't know they were capable of that. But oh my God, that defense. I fall more in love with the Dallas defense every game.
And
just
what's crazy
it's
is
so
like,
good.
They still gave up nearly 30 points. Like
No,
it
yeah.
wasn't a great day by any means.
No, but scoreboard great day is different than actual performance great day.
Yeah.
So also, hey, they finally did what you've been talking about. They reached above 20 points.
Yep. Doubled it even.
Doubled it, yeah. But yeah, no, congratulations to the boys for now.
For now.
You will have to deal with Ryan later.
Yeah. So the boys, like I said, will have a bye week. So we'll get a reprieve from having to deal with the Cowboys for a whole 2 weeks, and then they'll head up to Lambeau for the Packers, and then they're going to have to go back up north to Minnesota. I wonder if they'll just stay up there.
They might.
I mean, obviously you have a private jet, but I'm like, to me, it makes sense.
I
to
would
like,
stay there.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're going one state over.
You're going one, and it's a week.
Yeah.
So it's not like, okay, we have the Vikings in like 2 weeks. It's like, no, it's literally that next week. So you might as well just practice.
Yeah. I will say that it's a tough turnaround, right? Because you have Packers, Vikings, and then you have the dreaded 3-day recovery because you have the Giants on Thanksgiving.
The Giants have it worse, in my opinion. 4 week of division games. I think they have Dallas. I know they have the Eagles next, don't they?
They've got the Texans, the Lions, and then the Cowboys.
They've got the Cowboys next. Yeah. In division terms, they've got the Cowboys. Then it's the Eagles, right?
Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles,
Commanders. So they've got it worse because they have an opportunity to lose.
But they've got the Texans and the Lions beforehand.
Ryan, you know as well as I do, 4 division games in a row.
It's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough. All right. Well, there will be plenty of NFL action for us to cover next week. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back,
We're going to be discussing stupidity. Just
sports
know that.
adjacent roundup and stupidity, because there is a lot of it. Don't go nowhere. Welcome back to the main event. Ryan Baldwin here, Mason Nightwing Shepherd over there.
Teen Titans go.
Okay, hold on. What's your favorite Teen Titans? Please tell me it's
The original.
the anime or the cartoon from
2003 to 08?
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
What, did you think I was like the newer version?
Yeah,
No.
I was like, please tell me it's not Teen Titans Go, because I will.
No, dude, I would take this off of me if I said that. Like, I wouldn't deserve to have this on if I
Okay,
said
well, just
that.
don't do it in the studio. I know you didn't bring a change of clothes.
Actually, I did.
Oh, well.
You're right, I didn't.
I was like surprised by the ingenuity. I'm like, oh, dang, okay.
No.
All right, sports adjacency roundup. Somebody cue the Benny Hill theme song, because it has been a wacky, wacky week.
Should we go Benny Hill or Looney Tunes? I'm going Looney Tunes.
Okay, let's start with Kyrie Irving. I'm excited for your take on this one.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so last week, Kyrie tweeted basically a link to a movie which is based off of a book. And the book is called, I think I can say this.
Let me do it.
Okay.
From Hebrews to Negroes.
Wake Up Black America.
Yeah.
And the general consensus is that this book is stuffed with anti-Semitic tropes.
Yep.
And so Kyrie tweets out that, just tweets it out. He didn't actually say, like, go buy the book or go watch the movie. Just tweeted out basically that this stuff existed and a link to it.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Brooklyn Nets owner, Joe Tsai, issued a statement Friday night, this past week, saying, disappointed.
Typical company stuff.
Yes, it was all PR BS because he wasn't disciplined in any way.
No.
I guess because technically he didn't say, he didn't say
because he didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like Deshaun Jackson because he didn't highlight anything.
Yeah.
Because remember, Deshaun, he highlighted stuff.
And then he tweeted on Saturday that he is an omnist, whatever that means.
I don't know what that means.
And he meant no disrespect to anyone's religious beliefs. The anti-Semitic label that is being pushed on me is not justified and does not reflect the reality or truth I live in every day. I embrace and want to learn from all walks of life and religions. And then he signed it off with his Twitter tag, which is Hila, which I Googled because I'm like, what the heck is that? And the only thing that I could find is that HeLa is an immortal cell line used in scientific research. It is the oldest and most commonly used human cell line. The line is derived from cervical cancer cells taken on February 8th, 1951, named after Henrietta Lacks, a 31-year-old African-American mother of 5 who died of cancer in October 4th, 1951. The cell line was found to be remarkably durable and prolific, which allows it to be used extensively in scientific study. So I guess he's comparing himself to cancer cells?
Well, I've heard other people do that. But, dude.
So, yeah, what do you think about all this just from whatever perspective you want to attack this with? Because there's all kinds of ways you could go about this.
Yeah, I feel like the basic perspective, in my opinion, it's the proper perspective, is... You remember we've talked before about athletes not thinking, before they act?
Mm-hmm.
Even though whatever an omnist means... Even though that he didn't mean anything by it, per his words, I don't know, I'm not in his brain, wouldn't want to be there anyway, seems small and dark and scary. But even though that he's claiming he didn't mean anything by it, and even though he's not posting it for that reason, for it to express anti-Semitic views, don't do it. I think that is something, if you want to put people onto it, which I guess is what he was looking for, just recommend it orally. Don't go around and post it onto, because if he didn't expect people to find stuff in there and be like, I don't appreciate this, then he wasn't thinking. I think that that's something, if he had to promote it, but in my opinion, don't. Just because. Okay, the way I view it is, with this book, I haven't read it, don't want to, but I assume that it's covering more of a history of a timeline, I guess. And if you're looking into like Hebrew timelines or cultures, whatever it may be, then I assume that you would find stuff like that. Just like with Black history and stuff like that, you're going to find like the N-word and other stuff and blackface and all that.
Do you want the synopsis of
Sure.
the book? All right. The book titled
From Hebrews to Negroes.
Wake Up Black America touches on subjects too controversial for most authors to reveal to the people. This book will expose the truths that have been hidden by the powers that be in America. Since the European and Arab slave traders stepped foot into Africa, blacks have been told lies about their heritage. This was all by Satan's design, for he is the father of lies. There's an incredible stereotypical expression that says, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. Well, this is the book that all black people must read. Since biblical times, there has been a satanic agenda to destroy God's chosen people. This agenda still exists today and is carried on by man in many forms. Satan knows who God's chosen people are, but for centuries we've been blind to this knowledge, even though it's been right in front of our face. After many years of research, the time has finally come for all black people to know the truth. Inside...
because I don't know how many times it's in the sentence. From Hebrews to Negroes.
You will find the answers to all the burning questions you have wanted to ask your parents, teachers, and pastors for years. It has been said that the mind has a strong drive to correct itself over a period of time if it can touch some substantial, original historical base about itself. This time period is ending and the truth is being exposed. Is this signs of the end times? The Bible says in the last days that knowledge will increase. It also says in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall see dreams. And your old men shall dream dreams. Okay, I was like, knowledge is the truth, and Satan's time is running out. Don't be left behind. Find out what's really going on behind the scenes as it relates to Black America then and now. Afterwards, you be the judge as to who God's chosen people really are and who Satan's army is really after. At the end of reading this book, I guarantee you won't regret it. That is the synopsis from the publisher.
Oh my God.
G Publishing LLC.
Oh my God.
The book was released in 2015. The movie was in 2018. So, yeah. So, I'm not saying that... I'm interested in what it says, mostly just because I'm curious as to, like, without reading the book, I don't want to jump on and be like, yeah, full of anti-Semitic stuff. That's what other people have said.
Yes.
But I'm curious as to what exactly it says. But I don't want to buy the book.
No.
I don't want to buy the book and then support it, because in case it does, so I'm trying to figure out how I can maybe like pirate this book at some point.
I think you'd be out of it either way.
Because I'm curious as to what it says, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just to figure out why. Because I mean, I'd be less interested if this was just Kyrie, but with everything going down with Kanye right now too, I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird that it's basically the same thing over, like, they're basically saying the exact same stuff.
That black people are Jewish.
Yes,
that's literally.
I mean, that's basically what Kanye's saying.
Yes, Kanye's been like, yeah, black people are Jewish. Don't lie. I'm like, here's the thing. Do I feel like everybody knows everything about everything? No, we're all ignorant to something. My thing with Kyrie, when it comes down to it, is, I mean, this is going to be weird. He was being real, but also being an idiot at the same time. Let me explain. Because instead of being like, and just letting people. So basically, a lot of people when they get called out, they give like corporate apologies. Oh, I'm sorry, this was not my intent. I don't mean to offend anyone. I'm a supporter of all races and blah blah blah. Kyrie, when he was confronted with this, said, "No, I'm not taking anything down. I'm staying true to myself." Which, I mean, I'm not trying to support that, but at the same time, it's like at least he's being honest with the people around him instead of giving like an apology that he probably didn't mean. I'm waiting on Julian Edelman to send him a tweet being like, "Hey man, come here and visit the museum and have dinner with me and my family." And I'm not even making fun of Edelman for saying that's just what he always does. Oh my God. You know, man, when I look at it and I just think about, again, it's just called, it's like you said, you're curious, right? You're curious about it, but you wouldn't promote it. You know, you can't promote something like that. And it's not because I hate the excuse that, oh, you can't promote it because people are soft. No, you can't promote it because you never know what's going to happen. Because he can think it's a powerful message about what's really being hidden in America. Someone else, like what has happened, can read it and be like, this is a lot of anti-Semitic tropes. And who is Kyrie to say what's anti-Semitic and what's not? He's not Jewish, to our knowledge. So you're really playing with fire if you choose to do stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go out of your way to just prove that you're not, but at the same time, be careful. It's the same thing that happened with Deshaun Jackson. I guarantee, I mean, I can't guarantee. I don't know if he's anti-Semitic or not. I don't think he is, but then again, that's an assumption. But he posted that stuff and was like, yeah, this is true. This is the third, at least to my knowledge, this is the third black man that I know of with Kyrie that's like kind of reading material that has anti-Semitic material in it and relating to it. Not the anti-Semitic material, just the book and in general. So I don't know what's going on with Kyrie. I just doubling down on something like this because of pride is one thing. Again, it's a little bit of credit, it's a little bit of not, because at least he's being honest about it instead of like giving like a fake apology.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. Because when you're describing the situation, because it's easy when you read it off ESPN and you think, oh, this guy's an idiot. Because that's the mentality I came in here with. But hearing that, I mean, he's still an idiot, don't get me wrong. But hearing like you like read the synopsis, not of the book, but just kind of like of the situation, it's kind of like, what's a good take here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, if the focus on the book isn't for it to be anti-Semitic, then you kind of have to question not people's responses to it, because if they're upset by it, they're within their right. But you kind of have to question the motive, I guess.
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
Said, it doesn't. Yeah, without knowing the contents of the book, it's hard for me to say like that it's straight up anti-Semitic, right?
Yeah.
Like people, like it. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, everybody says it is, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be. It very well could be. It could be it says Jews are not actually like Jews or whatever, and black people are the real Jews or whatever. So, and it's hard to pinpoint what exactly it is without reading the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird situation.
Yeah, I mean, look, just me personally, and again, this isn't like a religious podcast or anything, but I just, as someone who is religious, I don't like the idea of like God's chosen people trying to claim a title on that. Like,
that's what I think people are really like. I think the book seems to promote that, like, the people that are Jewish, the book seems to promote that they are not, in fact,
God's chosen people, or
the Jews
real
that were, this makes me, based on the description, it makes me think that the thought is that people that were led out of Egypt, let's say, that group would have been blacks as opposed to whatever we typically think of when we think Jewish, and that is a thing.
Yeah.
And so I can see why some people would say that is anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Because then you're like saying, well, so you're saying I'm not actually a Jew is basically what But that's what I'm gathering from the book
And
and from what I've read.
I think if that's the what people feel like, I think that's valid for them to call it that, because that's what I was thinking too. Like that's what it sounds like.
That's what I'm gathering from everything, is that the book makes it sound like, okay, well, you guys aren't really Jews.
The Jewish
people, yeah. And so I can totally see that. I can be like, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm not Christian, but if I was and somebody was like, well, you're not really Christian, I'd be like, well, yeah, I am. I can totally see that. Yeah, I can see how that would be.
And I think, because that's what I felt like it was getting at when it was like the true people, and I'm just like, because again, it's not a religious podcast, but like the Garden of Eden is in Africa, so
yeah,
that's like the foundation of all life in a biblical sense. So that type of thing. But my thing is, why, and I guess this is what you would just have to ask Kyrie. Why does this matter? Why does it matter to Kanye? Why does it matter to Kyrie? I understand learning something new, but this is one of those, that's one of this material where it's like it's more divisive than informational, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because then you get situations like this. Because notice how we're not talking about the concept of the book, which can be debated. We're talking about whether something is anti-Semitic and offensive. Bless you, my good sir.
Thank you. Ugh.
But see, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we're talking about, not the message of the book.
Right.
So,
all right. So let's move on to something kind of tangentially related. Last week, Houston Astros manager Dusty Baker said it looks bad that there will be no U.S.-born black players in the 2022 World Series. The key phrase being, of course, U.S.-born black players. Because, there's people like Yordan Alvarez, who is clearly black in skin tone, but he's from Cuba.
Yes.
So I'm coming back to you for a take on this one. How do you feel about that? Does it look bad? And B, is it hypocritical for Dusty Baker, who is the manager of one of the teams in the World Series, to say it looks bad when he has a say in how the roster is structured?
Well, yeah, that part is yes, that's hypocritical. But the truth is, there is a difference. Like, there is a difference in culture of being a black American against, someone from South America or Cuba or the Caribbean or even Africa. There are cultural differences. My culture is not theirs and their culture is not mine. We bond over certain things, but it's not like you can't tell me that an African from Cuba or a black person from Cuba, I should say, is the same as someone who was born in Texas or whatever. It's not the same thing. So, do I feel like that is a fair comment? Honestly, yes, because there is a difference in black culture.
So then can I ask why, for example, nobody says it looks bad that there's basically no black people in the NHL and the Stanley Cup Finals every year?
Because I think at the end of the day, that's black people, even though, because here's the caveat, right? He said U.S.-born black players.
Uh-huh.
When people talk about the NHL, that's black as a whole. That's like, because at the end of the day, we are all still black, but our culture is still different. But we're still black all the same. So that, again, that's another fair comment, because that means black people from Africa, Cuba, whatever. But in this case, U.S.-born means like, yeah, there's a black man and it's valued, but he's not from America. It's weird, and it's weird that he would even bring that up. But at the same time,
because
I can't act like that doesn't make sense.
Well, but my thing is, so he said, I don't think, and this is a quote, I don't think that's something baseball should really be proud of. It looks bad. It lets people know that it didn't take a year, even a decade, to get to this point. So I'm confused by that, because there are non-black Americans playing in the World Series.
Yeah.
And according to the MLB, 38% of players on opening day rosters this season were players of color.
Yeah.
With 7.2% of those being black or African American.
Yes.
So it's a statistically much more homogenous, not homogenous. Homogenous is all one. Whatever the opposite of homogenous. There's a lot more variety of people.
Yeah.
There than in hockey, like, for sure. Like, even hockey, I mean, I'm not going to say that all white people are the same too, because
No.
people over in Russia versus Finland and Norway and Sweden all have. Did I say Finway? Finland,
Yeah,
Sweden,
Fenway.
Norway.
Fenway Park.
But like, you know, everybody, it's Finns would get upset if you say that they are the exact same person as a Swede.
Yes.
But there's not that same level. So I'm trying to understand
Right.
why there's not that same level of it's not even outrage, because nobody in the NHL or, you know, is going, why aren't there more, you know, like, why are there no African American or black players, whatever you want to call them, in the NHL and the Stanley Cup?
I think the reason hockey's not really affected by it as much is because it's that kind of falls into a stereotype of being a white person sport. Because think about it, right? What a lot of black people, I went to the Stars game, my first hockey game, loved it. Not a lot of black people there. And what gets talked about in black communities is black people don't watch hockey. We don't play hockey, even though obviously those things are not true. But those are just stereotypes that have been able to be used in order that, well, okay. So I think that's why it's one of those things where that doesn't really get brought up as much, just because, like, black people in NASCAR, even though there are black race car drivers, and there has been for in years, it's one of those things where it's like,
So then is it fair to say that baseball is now becoming a sport that just is not played by a certain demographic, right? Because now...
Not really, because baseball is a global phenomenon wherever you go.
So is hockey.
Yeah, but let's just be real, Ryan. I don't know someone from Kenya playing hockey. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yes,
I'm not saying that they don't like it, but I'm just saying it's more common to watch people play soccer or baseball, basketball, football, even a little bit.
Sure, but I'm also saying, at least in the U.S., I would argue that there is less of a I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. Baseball has become more of especially in the MLB, has become more of a Latin-dominated sport than the true U.S.-born play. Even white players, like just because of statistics, there's going to be a lot of white players.
Yes,
but I mean, there's a lot of Latin players from a bunch of different countries that come in, and Japanese players that come over.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that baseball is just one of those sports that is fallen out of, not nearly to the hockey level, but just fallen out of appeal when you can do black youth see themselves playing basketball and football more because they see more representation there?
That has something to do with it. And I think more so it just comes into the thing of like, yes, there have been black baseball players, and some of them have been some of the greatest to ever play the game. And there will always be black kids who will always want to play baseball over football, basketball, whatever. Is it that common? Not really, just because, there is more representation in football, and there is more representation in basketball especially. So that does have something to do with it, and that's a good point. I just think that what I'm breaking down more so is the U.S. I'm trying to make sense of how that is a comment that makes sense. Now, as far as him bringing it up, that's something else. But I'm saying, like, there is a difference between black people, right, which is why I'm making that distinction.
And I totally get, that there is...
As far as him bringing that up, here's my response to that. I think it's one of those things where someone is trying to earn brownie points from a certain community, because I don't feel like that was necessary. Just because there are people who... like you stated, the MLB has no really shortage of black players. And I feel like this is one of those comments as a black person, I'm just like, what are you trying to get at by saying this?
It just seems intentionally divisive.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, what are you trying to get at by saying this?
Right. Are you saying that because
this is no different than any other year.
Yeah, and honestly, most people... And this is just straight up, I think this is a little bit of American ignorance, but I think if most people... If you just put him in front of a TV and they saw Yordan Alvarez crush it like he has been this year, I don't think anybody would say, well, he's Cuban, so he's not really black. Like, he's not like me, right?
No, very much no. So, I have parents that if you have skin color that's even remotely close to mine, You're black.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
And so that's why, to me, it just seems a weird thing to say. Where
just out of curiosity, what does Dusty Baker look? I'm not familiar with. Is he a black man?
Yes, he is.
Well, okay. With him saying, okay, I wanted to be sure because this adds a little bit more perspective. He's someone who is, I don't know how old he is, but he looks like he's lived through times where it always wasn't welcoming for black people to play baseball. So I can kind of understand that.
Yeah.
I can, because here's the thing, and I think it's one of those things where we all know things or support things or say things that aren't made for everyone. You know, like, it's kind of like wearing a Halloween costume. Not everybody's going to do it. Some people enjoy it. Some people don't. So I think it's one of those things where, like, this comment I don't think was made to be understood by everybody. Now, I could understand the downside of that, but in my opinion, I don't think this was a comment that was made to be understood by everyone.
I think it's just one of those things where he could have phrased it better, right?
Yeah.
Like if he had said, man, it sucks that it doesn't seem like there's as many players of a certain type playing in the MLB as much. I'm like, okay, you know what? I kind of get that.
I mean, technically, that is how he said it. It's just in a way that a lot of people wouldn't, again, understand. Because, again, you gave the examples, right? Here's the thing, right? We're getting a little philosophical and social on the main event today.
Sports adjacent, baby.
Right? Woo! It's like what you said about the other European countries. You know, there is no cultural in the sense of like division in the sense of like perception. There is a perceived difference between us and like Africans. Like African Americans and Africans have a very strained history together. We do not really, some of us just Africans, some don't approve, right? You guys, there are obviously, you know, you would be known as like, oh, he's an American white guy if you went over to Britain like we talked about earlier. So there are obviously cultural differences. There's cultural differences in everybody. But there is not that like, well, British people don't like American white people. You know what I'm saying? Like they may think different things or think Americans are yokels or whatever. But it's not one of those like, say for instance, I had an earth and space science teacher who's also in the military, and he told me, and he's this white guy, he was like, they let me into the village of Djibouti. They didn't let any black person in. My mom trying to go to an African market was told by Africans, nah, you can't go there. Your skin's not light enough. Exactly. So you guys, to my knowledge, because I could be wrong, you don't have that. You used to when immigrants would come over to this country, but that's changed in a lot of ways.
I think in America, maybe
in America,
it has.
that's what I'm saying. In America,
it's hard to say because I haven't really traveled or anything.
Yeah, and I haven't either. But then again, I don't really have to travel for this.
But it's one of those things where I'm picking up what you're putting down. It just seems like an odd thing to say, especially from, like I said, one of the managers that has that ability to suggest or bring on players of a certain type.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, it's not like again. This is another where I'm torn because it's not like that's a bad observation. At the same time, what is the message behind it? Because I don't think that a lot of people like you. I don't think a lot of people are going to understand where that's coming from because it's easy to go like, well, there's a black guy right there. It's like, no, there's a difference. So I think what he said. I'm going to say this. It has a valid point. But I think with something like that, I think there's always going to be confusion because you're always going to have people who are just like, I don't understand what that means. And explaining the difference in culture between, you know, American black people and black people from other cultures, that's one way, but it's not going to explain everything. I think from his perspective, being an older black male who probably lived through the generations where black people weren't allowed to do much, that means something to him. Because I could talk to my dad, and I won't say on air that my dad would say the same thing, but I think my dad, even my mom, would be able to be like me, see what the message is kind of saying, not support it or deny it, but just kind of see like what he means by it. Because there is a difference. Because it's one of those things where there were things that we were not allowed to do here in this country, as everybody knows. So I think that perspective of it kind of sucks not to see an American black player playing in the World Series right now as an American black person. There's some validity to that. So I do agree that that's not a message for everyone, and it will confuse people, and maybe the wording isn't the best, but at the same time, how else are you going to word it? Oh, it sucks that we don't see black players in a World Series. Well, see, then if he said it like that, then he'd be wrong, because there is a black player playing. But an American black player, he's got a point in that.
Yeah, I guess. I think it's just, like I said, I think he could have phrased it as, and again, I'm a white guy, so whatever my opinion counts for this, which might be nothing. But I was like, if he had said, I think that it's unfortunate that more kids seem to go into basketball and football now instead of baseball, I'm like, you know what? I totally get that, because I think that that's a valid point too.
Yeah.
Because I think that is what's happening and why that maybe there's not, I mean, obviously, like I said, there's not like no black players. It's 7.2% of rosters.
But at the same time, and this makes sense given the time frame, all right? When my dad was coming up, and when other players like a Hank Aaron, or or a Barry Bonds, whatever, they had people to look up to. Jackie Robinson, who was obviously the main guy. They had people who looked like them coming up through like the 70s and the 80s, and that translated to a lot of black people playing baseball, especially like in the 90s and stuff like that. There is no LeBron of baseball, and you know what I mean when I say that.
Yeah, a cultural icon.
Yeah, there is no cultural icon that's not that's present now. That's more in soccer, basketball, football. That's not really in baseball for us right now. And that's not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but that's just not where it is.
And then let's end on something less divisive and full of good news. As of October 28th, 2022, Giselle is back on the market. Yeah. Tom Brady and Giselle officially get the divorce. Not that anybody was surprised or unexpected, but I'm honestly just kind of surprised that it took this long, Like, it was pretty clear by the fact that he spent like 3 months with the wife and kids and was like, nah, I'm going back to football. That was my first big clue of like, okay, there's something up. Like,
there's a problem.
There's a problem. The only question is, was it before that started up or what? But there you go. Tom Brady officially divorced. I guess, hey, ladies, if you like a dude that won't eat bread, Tom Brady's back on the market.
You like guys who won't eat bread, won't even sniff a bagel.
Won't sniff a bagel.
Won't sniff a bagel, man.
Dude, the Mark Elfenbein, great dude, brings us fresh bagels from like the little New York bakery right across from the AAC, like fresh in the morning on Sunday mornings. Sheesh, man, I have not had better everything bagels in my life. And everything bagels?
I wouldn't see you as a bagel guy.
Everything bagels. It's got to be everything bagels. That's my favorite bagel.
You a donut guy? See, I didn't want to assume.
I used to be like a chocolate cake donut. Love it.
I think everyone would love a chocolate cake donut.
But now I'm like, it's a bit too much. Like, it's too sweet. And this I know I'm getting old. I'm like, man, it's too sweet early in the morning. I mean, like, so like, I'd rather have a bagel.
I think the older you get, the more you have to think like that.
And now, if I could combine the bagel that Elf brings with some strawberry schmear from Einstein, strawberry schmear is my favorite schmear. Quick, favorite schmear, go.
Like what, jelly?
You never been to Einstein Bros?
No.
What do you usually put on your bagel?
I don't eat bagels.
You don't eat bagels?
No.
Tom Brady, what do you eat in the morning?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, waffles.
The taste you can see.
Like waffles, pancakes.
Have you ever had a bagel?
No.
Never had a bagel?
No, like that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't like the idea of a bagel. I've just never had one. I grew up eating donuts. I didn't grow up eating bagels.
I know what I'm bringing you next Monday.
A bagel?
I'm going to bring you a bagel.
Sounds good.
All right. Tune in next week when on air, Mason eats a bagel for the first time. It's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun, maybe. Hopefully he's not allergic to anything that I put on the bagel.
Nah.
No?
I'm allergic to one thing, and it's not anything food related.
Okay. B?
No, augmentin. It's a medicine.
Anyway, that was the main event. Special thanks to Dan Bala, Mark Lambert for letting us use the Green Studio deep in the heart of Denton, Texas. Until next week, Mason Shepherd, a.k.a. Nightwing, Ryan Baldwin saying, I can control my emotions.
Oh.